there's other things that you need to explain to us about this text, and you got about halfway through Isaiah 53. Tell us what the prophet is saying, and then apply this to Christ and why it could only be to Christ.
Well, it even gets better. Now we have moved beyond the principles. Now it's going to get even more dramatic, because we're going to go from the atonement and the rejection and the mystery of the servant. We're going to now come down to his submission. Look what he does. He submits in suffering. He was oppressed and afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He was led like a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before her shearers is dumb, so he did not open his mouth. And therefore we have his submission in his suffering. But there also is a submission in his death too. It says by oppression and judgment he was snatched away. The word there is he was yanked away. We would say he was ripped off, just yanked out there. And who can speak of his descendants? Who's going to speak up for him? He was cut off from the land of the living. For the transgression of my people was he stricken. And then he submits in his burial too. He was assigned a grave with the wicked and with the rich in his death. You say, make up your mind. Which is it, wicked or rich? But it comes out right on the dime. It's exactly what happened to Yeshua, Jesus the Messiah. He hung between two thieves. And therefore, he was assigned in his death. He was assigned with the wicked. And yet, he was also with the rich. For Joseph of Arimathea came along. And Joseph of Arimathea said, I'll take the body. So you have both that were true. Now, how could you have predicted this 700 years before the fact? He said, well, it was a lucky shot. Well, lucky indeed. It's a very lucky shot. And especially when you've got 400 other shots that all are, quote, lucky, as you would say in good preordination form. So, at any rate, he goes on here to speak of his exaltation. Yet he said it was the Lord's will to crush him. It was the Lord's will. Who put Jesus on the cross? Some people say, oh, I know, and they want to immediately assign it to only one people. Oh, no. It was the Romans, along with the Jewish people, the whole contemporaries. But this text says, all we like sheep. All of us put him there. And yet, it was in God's plan, too. It wasn't as if the Lord said, oh, no, look what's happening. Plan B. Now I've got to go to a whole new plan. It was the Lord's will to bruise him. And the text goes on to say, and to put him to grief. And though the Lord makes his life a guilt offering, a sin offering, his life was offered up like one of those offerings spoken of in the Old Testament. The most intense of all of them, the sin offering, the guilt offering.
That's another good reason, Walter, why it can't be Israel and why it can't be the prophet, because we've got him on record. Isaiah saying, I am a man of unclean lips, and I live among a people of unclean lips, in Isaiah 6:5.
Yes, exactly.
Or 59:12, our offenses are many in your sight, and our sins testify against us. And this one says it's got to be a perfect offering.
Yeah, exactly so.